taller than Eli.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I feel like we're not set up to do a good episode.
No, we are.
What?
I think we need to do that one more time.
Hey, you say that before every episode, dude.
Dog.
You're like, this episode's gonna suck.
All
It's
right,
gonna
here we
be
go.
so bad.
Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Happy
Birthday
birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to our podcast. Happy birthday to us.
Hey, if you wrote that song, just pretend you
Don't
didn't hear
sue
that.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just do that.
thank you.
Dude, I'm trying to Shazam it. Like, that's like a deep cut. Like, who wrote that?
Hey, welcome back to Off the Clock, the soon-to-be #1 podcast in the world. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, side note, my dad walked up to me like a few days ago after he listened to the last pod, and he was like, Ian's kind of lost his game a little bit with the intro. He was like, when you guys started, he was like super sure about the #1 podcast in the world thing, and now he's just like, it's the #1 podcast in the world.
Well, dude.
Not today, folks.
Hold on.
It's been a year.
This is for Mr. Thomas. Yo. Welcome back to Off the Clock, the soon-to-be, and I mean this when I say this, #1 podcast in the world. Let's get it.
That's
All
cold.
right, cool. We
Guys,
back, man.
as of the time of recording this episode, 3 days ago, it was our 1-year anniversary of this podcast.
There it was.
And yeah, it's honestly, personally, I thought this podcast was going to die in like 2 weeks.
He did. Actively.
Genuinely.
What was better though is it started. He was like, "It's gonna die in 2 weeks," and then as it continued to like not die, the time would just keep getting like extended. So it was like 2 weeks, then it was like 2 months, then it was like 6 months, then it was like, okay, once we're all in college, and now it's like, who knows? We may be doing this till we all die.
Well,
Yeah.
there have been many jokes of like, we're going to be young dads, like with kids still doing this podcast.
Oh, yeah,
And
Or maybe we'll like take a break, and then like when we all have kids, we'll come back.
Yeah,
and
what if we take
start
like
dads
it'll
off
be
the
like-
clock?
Or maybe this is the
Dad
first.
edition.
Maybe this is the first like generational podcast.
Oh.
Like when we all like, you know, kick the can, all of our kids all of our kids step in.
We can still be alive when our kids step in. We don't have to have died.
Dude, so we could do
I
like,
don't know. I'm just saying.
we could do a bunch of episodes before, like pre-kicking the can, as Aiden puts it, with the kids, dude. And then we can have the grandkids on there. And then it just like continues, you know? Yeah.
17 microphones. Be whack.
17, bro.
Oh man.
That's it.
I don't know.
We're talking about grandkids and kids. Actually, it could be 17.
Ian's about to have a whole
know,
like.
dude.
I didn't hear that. I didn't get the
Whole
logistics of
army
that
of
in
a
my mind.
family.
I apologize.
I mean, I don't know. What's the perfect amount of kids?
That's a good question.
Is this what we're starting with?
I
Yeah,
feel
dude.
like
All right.
I mean I feel like if we don't say like the amount of kids in our family, we're kind of like
I'm
no,
like
that's
in
not
the
even accurate, dude.
2 to 3 range for me is like, I think that's perfect.
It is for sure 2 to
okay.
4.
I say
yeah.
4's cool.
I say 3 because there can never be.
Because that's the amount in your family.
And speaking from experience, you never have like a fight where nobody wins. Like 2 people always gang up on the other one, and it's bad in some ways, but in other ways, when you get close, it's like you keep the others in check in this like, you know, sometimes
Yeah, I like
obnoxious way, but it's also good.
Right, but then if you got 4 kids, you've got teams. And so
true,
then
I've seen
like
that.
one kid's not getting like punked by the other 2. You've got 2v2. Although if it was like 3v1, then it'd be really, really unfortunate for like the
would
one
be a
child that's just
problem.
getting absolutely abused by his or her siblings.
Oh no!
That would be tough.
Yeah,
All right, so we settle on 2 to 4.
yeah.
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 I think it's 2 to 4.
And
Look at that.
do we agree on a mix of genders or all
Yes.
the same gender?
All boys.
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
No.
That was a joke. Calm down. Listeners, calm down. Calm down. It was a joke. I'd be totally fine with 4 girls. Absolutely. Totally good.
There's a camera. Oh my gosh. He's been hanging out with Seth too much. Ian, what do we have in store for today?
Dude, oh man, so many things. Number one, I feel like we should just start off like throwing punches, dude. Like we already have.
Punches. Oh Lord.
Aiden just brought up an interesting topic. He's got a group chat, he was saying, with his siblings.
Oh.
Aiden, what is the name of your group chat?
All right, it's called Adoption Center.
So,
wait, I have no idea where this is going.
So Grant and I were saying, do we actually know anything except what our parents tell us about ourselves? Like, we could all be adopted. We could be from other countries. We could be aliens. I mean, I could be Superman right now and not even know it.
You know, I have
Or
a
like
hunch
a
that
mutant.
you're not.
I could be Wolverine, dude.
Is it bad when you said mutant? I thought like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
I
Like,
just think X-Men.
Yes, that is
I
kind
don't
of.
know. I just
kinda
thought
makes me
like
sad.
okay.
I mean,
LOL.
the turtles were dope, but
No.
I'd much rather be Wolverine. When
Okay,
I was like
that-
3, they were.
that's fair.
Yeah. What if I just like
So the
claws just?
Well, I mean, I think
that
this is
contract.
like on the surface, it's like a really interesting question, but it also could be applied to like literally anything.
and yeah, that's fair.
Because like, are we all just indoctrinated by the machine of society, and like how,
Yes,
and
we
like
are.
how the world,
My
like,
life is the Truman
like,
Show.
just
Some of
like,
us more than others.
like, are we living in the Matrix? You know, like, there's a lot of questions that we could ask. Like,
That's
is
facts.
2 + 2 really 4?
Well, see, this is something. Well, no, I actually have wondered that. Like, who decided math works the way that it works? Like, I ask my math tutor this constantly because it's like we'll learn a new concept. I'll be like, but who decided that's what it does?
In the wise words of DJ Khaled, God did.
There's another topic, dude.
No, I don't know if we
What
should.
an
leave that.
absolute
No,
menace to the
menace.
music industry.
Why am I always yelling?
They ain't believe in us, but God did.
We the best music. Guys, we promise we have a really good serious topic. But just getting into the episode, I think this is the content that you need. And frankly, I guess it's the content that we
The
need.
content that we
need.
clearly needed, obviously.
oh man.
Wow.
So I don't know. I think that to answer your question,
Completely challenging.
at the end of the day, like it's all about trust, and it can apply to anything. And I choose to trust my
why
parents.
do we trust our parents? Like,
Because they're our parents.
but like, is that really a good enough reason?
No.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Peters. We'll let you
kidding.
take away the talk from here.
Dude, we can phone in the mothership right
I was about
now.
to say that.
Oh yeah.
That'd be wild.
Oh my word.
Okay.
Well, that's
So-
a hot start to
Go ask your parents
the
at home.
birthday edition episode.
Is
Let's
this
get
your
it.
real birthday? Today
No,
could be your
don't-
birthday.
Yeah,
do that.
that's what I'm saying.
No,
like,
do it. Do it right now. Anyway,
man. I don't even know how we transition.
I don't think we do. I think
From
we
that-
just full send.
Yeah, just go.
We just full send it. All right, heck yeah. Okay, so since this is like what technically the birthday 1 year birthday episode, yeah, of Off the Clock. I think we all started this podcast like as interns working in some student ministry awesomeness together.
Yes, sir.
So, since we're all still doing like ministry stuff, but that's more like towards worship, production, that type of thing in some like capacity, I kind of wanted to talk about, I don't know, how we've grown in that and like how we're doing something that we're constantly trying to get better and improve.
Yeah.
But like we're also doing that in the context of trying to honor the Lord and serve those around us. It's like, how do we do that humbly
Yeah.
and not from a like, I don't know, it's so easy to go from Like, I want to be better. I want it to be better. And like, let that be the sole reason. So I guess the first like question is for both of y'all and for me, but like, what is the motivation to make things, like, to improve and be making things better? Like, what is that motivation? It can be individually or just like whatever the answer is that comes to your mind.
I think I'll talk about it in like the context of worship because that's where our profession lies. But I think it can also apply to a lot of areas of life. But like, we're called to worship God with excellence, and it's not perfection, but I think striving for excellence is still extremely important in all areas of life, especially worship. So when it comes to worship production, like, you really want to achieve some form of excellence because God doesn't deserve a half tried worship set. God deserves something that we actually put a lot of effort and time into, and he deserves more than that too, obviously. But I think it's that we need to actually put a lot of effort, time, in a lot of ways, like our soul and our passion into worshiping God, because that's important, and that's an amazing way to honor God. And that also applies to a lot of areas of life, especially like you need to strive for excellence, and strive for being a good reflection of God and honoring Him in all of your areas of life. So striving for excellence in all areas of life also kind of honors God in a way. So that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, it just kind of goes to just bringing the best for Him, because no matter what we offer to Him, it's never going to be enough. But we're, like Grant said, we're called to be excellent. We're called to, I think preparation is a good thing. And yeah, there is that line, which I'm sure we'll talk about, of performance, and are you in things for the right reasons? But I think it definitely takes a heart check at a lot of times, and I think all of us can speak to that very well, of having to check ourselves and being like,
having people to check us too,
and having people, absolutely, and like, why do I want this to be better? Is this something that actually matters? And sometimes the answer may be no, but a lot of times the answer may be yes. So
I think sometimes we all get caught up in like, oh, we're actually trying to strive for excellence because we want to make ourselves look better, because we want to be the best, and like everybody falls into that. So what you're saying of just like having people to hold you accountable in that, because you don't want to be striving for stuff for your own glory. Like that's not the point of anything. So.
Yeah. It's like God created the universe, right?
Yes.
The universe is.
We can agree.
And I'm so glad we can like have that established point that
we'll start there.
Yeah, we start there at the beginning. God created this insane, huge, beautiful, like crazy universe. He created our world, our earth that we live on, perfectly, and He did that. It's excellent. Like everything He did was excellent.
Yeah, like
it's perfect.
He always said, "This is good."
Yeah, at the end of everything, He's like, "This is good." And why would I want to bring anything less than that, than my best or my excellence before the Lord? And that's not always to say that I succeed in that.
Right. We all fall short of the glory
but
of God.
Generally speaking, like, why would I want to bring anything else before Him?
Yeah. No, I 100% agree.
I finally found the scripture I was looking for.
Dude, I was trying to figure out what you were doing. I was like, is Aiden texting me? Because I was like, dude, I'm about to throw something at you.
Aiden's full sending right now.
Galatians 6:9 says this, and let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. So, like if we are steadfast in the pursuit of excellence for Him, we will reap those benefits and we'll see those benefits. So it's the grind is important.
It is.
Shout out, Seth. That's awesome.
What does it look like? I don't know, for y'all individually, and I know for me, like having that healthy, I don't know, Grant, you were talking about like improving, being excellent in like every aspect of life. Yeah. But like, what does that look like for you realistically?
Yeah. Well,
like, do you have people, like, is it just having people pushing you to do that? Like, what are what do you do to achieve that and to like constantly be trying to get better?
I've talked about this before, but for me, like first and foremost, it's all about posture. Like everything you do needs to be for the glory of God, no matter what it is. And I feel like you start out with that mindset and it becomes a whole lot easier, because if you don't start out with that mindset, you can fall a whole lot easier into, well, this is for my own glory. And it is a lot of like striving for excellence in your field and doing research. And like, you know, if you're going to college for something that you're studying, like try to make good grades. Like don't, you know, slack off and stuff. And having people to hold you accountable in both like, hey, work hard. Hey, like strive for excellence, because that is for God's glory. And also like, hey, make sure you're doing it for God's glory, not for your own glory. And again, humility is so hard. It's a hard thing to maneuver a lot of the time, especially in the worship world. But I think, having people there at your, you know, at your back and at your side is really, really important to keep you in check. And to push you, because a lot of times like your peers will push you in a lot of areas that you're not great in. Like you two push me in audio areas that I'm just not as good as y'all in at all. But having you guys around me pushes me towards a more excellent, you know, version of what my audio sounds like. So that's just like one small example. So surrounding yourself with people who have been in other walks of life or who have a lot of wisdom and advice for you or your peers, like all of that, getting advice from other people is super, super important, I would say.
Yeah, and I would also say, kind of going back to what Seth was talking about in the podcast last 2 weeks ago or whatever, when you have that thing, or like, let's say he gave the example of, for me, one of the things is mixing. And when I'm really intentional about my pursuit of excellence in mixing and just kind of striving to get better and asking for critiques, like that works its way over into other areas of life. So in the same way, I strive to be better in how I'm a leader and how I mix and how I play the drums. Like I also strive to like that gives me something to look to when I look at something that maybe I'm not as immediately good in, or not as far along in, that I can look at and say, okay, so with playing the guitar or with, certain relationships or whatever it is, like I have something that I can look to. And I talked about something similar to this with my friend Will, last week. And he was telling me about how he thinks it's really important to get really, really good at something. Just one thing. It doesn't matter necessarily what it is, but, just because that shows you so much about who you are and just kind of how the world is. And then it lets you perceive things a lot better. It lets you see how to do other things a lot better. So I would say there's a lot of bleed, and I think that's a really, really good thing just with the pursuit.
And I think something you said on that too is like, I don't think you can actually progress well without healthy critique. And I say healthy critique because I watched Whiplash too many times growing up, and we know that unhealthy critique can...
Hey, a movie that I've seen!
We should talk about that movie, actually.
We should.
I'm down.
Anyway, so healthy critique from especially people who've been where you are definitely pushes you towards excellence, where if you're not critiqued at all, like you're not going to pursue in a lot of ways. Like,
and you're going to fall.
Yeah.
It's finding those people who are like, you want those people who are way more experienced than you in whatever you're doing. Like if you're, it can apply to other things. We're just using music and production because that is the most applicable to like where we are at the moment. But like find somebody who's like way further along than you, because they can give you so many critiques because they're so much further down the road. But then having those people who are like right around you and then just a little bit ahead is like so important, and just being open to receiving the correction, because honestly, in the like trying to be better, and for me specifically, that has brought about like uncovering so many like not the greatest like places in my heart, because like it shows just some like nasty stuff, because I am a human and I'm sinful and I'm prideful and I'm arrogant, and so it's really easy, like Grant was saying, like to fall into that. But it also just builds character. Like having people critiquing you and you critiquing them, and like that constant like push and pull of trying to make each other better while also walking in relationship with people is really big, and it makes you a better person. And I don't know, that's something like all three of us can speak to, kind of like, because we all do that for one another, of like walking in relationship with other people and like giving them feedback and being sometimes kind of brutally honest with them in like ways that's like that might hurt their feelings or
right.
But also, like, when you do that, you've got to make sure you've got to check your heart motivation behind that, too.
Yeah.
That's another big thing. So, I don't know. We can talk about that for a second.
You go ahead.
And I think kind of with everything that Ian just said, I think, and kind of on the hypothetical situation of being without that accountability, that someone in front of you, somebody with you that can kind of check you and keep an eye on, like, how you're doing and get critiques and et cetera, et cetera. I feel like sometimes if you don't have that, I think it's really easy to get in your head about how good at something you really are.
100%.
And I know I've been there, and I kind of talked a little bit about it on the podcast with RD, kind of talking about Spencer, me coming to him with a question and like an idea, and him having to be like, man, like there's a lot of bitterness in you right now. And that's something that you're going to have to, like, that's something that you need to work through. So we kind of talked about it, and it was something that, like, I hadn't realized, but as soon as we kept going through the conversation, it's like, oh yeah, why do I think that? Like, this isn't me. This isn't who I am.
Yeah.
And had it not been for our relationship, and just him pursuing me and wanting me to be better and me, like, seeking that out in a certain way, even if I didn't intentionally seek that out. I was asking him a question that was kind of relating to this whole situation, and he was like, "No, you don't think about it that way. That's not good." So, yeah.
Well, and it all ties back to, like, it all ties together. It all ties back to Whiplash, and this is why Terrence Fletcher is the villain of Whiplash, is because he doesn't care about the relationship, and that's the big thing here in all of this. Is like, yes, critique is super, super valuable, but you have to care about the relationship, and you have to care about the other person for it to be actually effective. And so that's why I think that's why this conversation is important, because not only can we say, oh, just go critique people, because you can't just go around critiquing people like willy-nilly and just expect everything to be great. Like, you have to genuinely seek out relationship and healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And that is honesty in a lot of areas too.
And that's something that, like, as we all are very involved in building teams and working with teams in some way.
Specifically, this segue is so perfect.
Yeah, something that we all can speak to and that we've all been taught about and learned about is you can't look at a potential new team member as like, oh, they're going to sound really good on the guitar. Like, you
can't look at it as like what they're about to do,
what they're going to add to the team, like
my
that
objective.
Exactly.
Unquote.
Like, that has to be a relationship that you want to pursue and that you want to carry on with that person as a friend, as a brother, as a sister, as another follower of Jesus. Like, that is so much more important than what they're going to add to
a worship set.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's just such a big thing, and building equity with people and just starting relationships.
Building equity is a huge one. But okay, so here's a question, like, kind of in this vein, starting with, actually either one of you could start, but Grant, I know when you and I first started, like, I've known you for years, but like when you and I first started, like, really working together and becoming friends was, I guess, first semester of my junior year and your senior year, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Because I would have been a volunteer at that time. Yeah.
But like, even then, it was like you were stepping into the tech team and like just trying to get more people involved in it, and like really almost building a tech team in a lot of ways. Yeah. And it's like, we still see so many of those people who you helped bring in are like our volunteers serving like week in, week out. Yeah. So I don't know, what's something you've learned over the last, I guess, year, like even starting there, and it's like honestly kind of being like in the deep end, and then like in walking in relationship with those people, and like wanting to like bringing people in and like being in relationship with them, but also trying to help them get better at the same time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is you gotta like, you almost have to like help them unlock like their own desire for it, which sounds kind of weird, but like Spencer always talks about like spinning the plates, which is like you get one person to spin the plates, and then like the other person starts spinning the plates, and that way you're able to do more stuff. And there's a whole thing we can talk about there. But like my whole goal with that, and I don't want to sound prideful at all, because that team that was built was not just me at all. It was definitely you two too, and it was all those people who really stepped it up. Like, I could not have done any of what I did without any of those people.
Sure.
But really unlocking a desire for like excellent worship in them, which they found in a lot of ways by just like giving them the reins. Like, if you like, I gave this one guy the light board basically just for this whole conference, which like I could have done, but
Eric.
yeah, shout out Eric. So like he had it for the whole conference, and he went ballistic with it. He made the coolest lights I've ever seen, and he like loved doing it. And that's just one example, but like, you finding that for somebody is super important, I think, for a culture too, because if people truly desire to make a culture better, the culture will get better. Like, if everybody in that like group wants the culture to get better, I think it will, without strife and without sin, like it would inevitably get better. And that's why we have relationships too, is to like help work through the strife and sin together. So all that being said, I think unlocking a passion and a desire for a better community will better the community.
Yeah.
You did something you do such a great job of is like bringing others like in on something. It's like including them.
Yep.
And something's like, instead of like, I can do this, like I could do this myself, it's like bringing them in and bringing them along. It's like, how do I best like reach them, and like what is the best way I can connect to them? I know you and I even had like a conversation about that a few weeks ago. In relation to some like stuff with our prayer room.
Well, I think something in all of that too, not to cut you off, but something that's super hard is like, you have to let go of what you would do. And it sucks. It sucks so bad sometimes, because you're like, don't do that. But I had this conversation with Abby Diaz at one point of like, we were talking about college life, and Abby's awesome. She's like one of the leaders there, and she's just an amazing person. And she was saying like, hey, I want students to mess up on the soundboard, because that means they're learning. If that mic feeds back, that means they learned something that day. And that's okay. Like, at the end of the day, it's okay that a mic feeds back, because maybe it won't again. Like, maybe they're going to learn something and they'll be able to teach someone else. Like, you don't know the impacts of that mic feeding back. Instead, I could have just like stepped in and been like, hey, don't do that, or something like that. But instead, if that mic feeds back, or if something else like that happens, like, that's okay, because that means people are learning. So allowing people to make mistakes, and it's more guiding them. It's not micromanaging. And it's so hard not to micromanage. It is so difficult, because I'm such a perfectionist, guys. It's so hard.
Yeah, man.
But that's something like everybody has to let go in a leadership position, because if you micromanage, like, you just take away creative freedom.
It's like not micromanaging. Sorry, Aiden.
No, go ahead.
It's not micromanaging, but it's also like, it's guiding, but also not letting them drown. So it's like the balance between like letting people mess up, but like not letting them messing up like come at the detriment of like humiliating them and like crushing their desire to ever come back and do that, and also like getting you in trouble.
And a big thing in all of that too is like explaining of like, hey, this is why we don't do this. It's not just saying, hey, don't do that. It's like, hey, this is why we don't do that. Because I did that once, or because this is what happens when this happens. Because it hurts this or whatever. So explaining that and the reasoning behind that is also super important, I think.
And I would say, just kind of a testament to everything Grant's just saying in my existence several times. There have been many times where, while I was interning, Spencer would be like, hey man, do you have the multi-tracks from the service last Sunday? They want the sermon to post on Spotify, and I'm like, I just deleted them. or me and Spencer trying to fix the multi-tracking with the console, and 5 minutes before service, and me messing something up and us having to restart and erase the whole system 5 minutes before service started. I can just remember that, and remember him being like, man, I'm glad you did it, because you're not going to do it again.
That's so 100%.
But even that is like, we still got through. He was there to like help you through, get through that, and we still got through the service. Could it have been better? Absolutely. But it's like, we're on stage and I'm playing drums and I just can't hear anything, and Seth's over here in the MD mic like, all right, chorus. And I was like, what? What's happening? Where'd the click go? He's like, start the click. And I'm like, I can't hear the click. And it was like, even in that, we all grew on stage. And you grew in the like.
Well, and now we have a funny story to tell about it. And
exactly.
And in all of that, there's grace. Like that's the gospel of like when we mess up, we pull each other up, and there's grace, and we all learn from our mistakes together. So that's, I don't know, that's huge. And I feel like if you can unlock that, you can unlock so much else in your life. So
I would say, kind of going back to Grant's point a few minutes ago about advancing a culture, advancing a team, and spinning plates and building people up. I won't give like details to the exact situation. I will say it wasn't at church. It was through my school. But I was in like a higher leadership position in a function at my school, and it was a position that I had watched other people fill while I was like a lower level team member on the team. And it was a kind of situation where like every once in a while there'd be a student that like really cared, that was a really good leader. And then when those kind of students leave, it's just like, oh, he was great. You know, it's not going to be as good next year. And that is such a toxic culture in my opinion, because one of the things I try to do, and this was kind of while I was getting to step in more to my roles here and everything, like I want to let go of my responsibilities in a lot of ways. Like I want to take the freshmen, the sophomores on the team, and I want to say, hey, the text I sent in the group chat this morning, this is why I sent that. The way I set everything up, this is why I do that. The reason that we get here at this time, like I want to have all those conversations so that when I'm gone, and you hear people say all the time that the sign that you're running something successfully is when you can be gone and it still runs successfully.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't want to leave and then everybody's like, Aiden was great, you know? I want to leave.
How are we ever going to replace that?
Exactly.
Like, what are we going to do?
I want to leave, and I come back, and it's like, hey, how's it going? And it's like, oh, they're doing, you know, so and so's like doing a great job. We've started doing this, and we changed this, and we did that. Like, great, like change it. I wasn't perfect. I wasn't the best. Like, I went as far as I could, so you could go way farther than I could.
I'm a firm believer that the best is always yet to come. Like that. There will always be someone who is better at me at the thing I'm doing, who will come after me and do better than me.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you know that, like, it makes your job a whole lot easier too, because there's almost like not as much pressure to like be perfect, because you know someone's going to do better than me someday. I think all of that, like, if people have that belief, like, hey, someone better than this amazing leader is going to come up and it could be me, like, I think that gives everybody a bit more energy of like, well, let's all strive to make this better because we're all working together. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Ian?
Yeah. I'm thinking.
He's slowly smiling right now.
Processing.
I'm trying to decide if I want to push back on that or not. Because, like, I agree with you.
Oh, you're going to say, but you want to be the best at all times.
No, that's not true, because I can't be the best at everything. I can want to be the best at everything. I can't be the best at everything. It's not possible. But.
Well, okay. Maybe not like someone who's necessarily better, but who better fits the situation.
Sure. And I'm not saying like somebody's, yes, obviously, no matter who you are, there's going to be somebody who's better than you.
Right.
Like there are very few people who somebody does not come along who is better than them. So it's like, that's kind of like an unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
Well, it's specifically such a challenge in like with a student ministry team because I mean, we're on a clock. We got 4 years, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then you're out. Yeah. You know, like it's that
you're technically supposed to be out, even though we're all still doing stuff.
In. Hey.
Anyways, yeah, no, I agree. It's like there's going to be somebody who is like probably going to be better than you at something at some point. Like it's going to happen. It just happens to everybody. But at the same time, personally, how I like continue to like make myself, one of the ways I continue to try to like stay, like continue to grow at something that I love and that I'm good at is by like looking around me and saying, okay, these people are better than me. These people are not better than me. I'm trying to reach a level like with these people above me. Like I want to get to their level. And so it's like constantly looking up and being like, okay, that's what I'm shooting for.
Yeah.
And
I think
Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
let me phrase it this way, because I think if you use that mentality of like someone better is going to come after me, you tend to slip into like, well, then I should just not try. I don't think that's the mentality. I think it's someone who is better at what I am doing will come at some point.
Yeah.
But I need to do the best with what I've got. Like that's the mentality I think people need to have of like, I'm going to give it my 100%, even if I'm not like, if I don't have the best skill set for it, I'm still going to give it 100.
It's almost just
really
like
what it is. It's the mindset of like always giving it the absolute best.
It's just like it's also just kind of like a built-in heart check for me of like, yeah, I'm not the best at this.
Yeah. 100%.
You know,
Yeah.
but because there's somebody better somewhere. For sure. He might be 3 years younger than me. He might be 25 years. It doesn't matter.
But even like in that, it's too like acknowledging when you are really good at something, like being confident in the fact that you are really good at that. Like you were saying, find something you're really good at, but then it's so easy to like,
which is a line. Absolutely. It's a line.
It's such a thin line to cross.
Yeah. And that was the line that like Spencer was talking to me about in that conversation. And like, it's a hard line, and it's so easy to slip in that area of like, oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like I freaking got this.
Well, and there's so many different, there's just so many different perspectives. Even like Seth was talking about the other day on the podcast. He's like, nah, dude, I don't want anybody to be better than me at anything. And it's like, I maybe think there's a little bit different way to phrase that. It's not so like just, nobody's ever going to be better than me. It's more of like, I'm not going to like sit here and let somebody like get past, like grow further and faster than I am.
It's just more, it's a point of saying, I'm never going to stop getting better.
Yeah. That's
I
right.
like that.
I'm never going to stop growing, because if I stop growing, I think that's what it is. It's like somebody's never going to be better than me, but it's like, if I stop growing, then what am I doing?
I think we touched on this earlier in this conversation too, but like people tend to plateau if they aren't surrounded by other people who are also getting better. Mm-hmm. If we all grow together, no one's going to plateau. And you might slow down in your progression, but I think the goal should be for a lot of people like, let's not plateau, let's not stop growing. Like there's always more stuff we can learn. And I think that's a big thing for a culture in general of like, hey, we're all learning and let's all continue to learn. That changes the culture entirely of like, hey, there's still so much we can learn, so let's learn more.
Yeah, for sure. And it comes back, I mean, even in other areas of life, like I think back to our conversation with JC.
Yeah.
And his Word of God, people of God, Spirit of God philosophy. Like if you're not pursuing the Word of God and the people of God and the Spirit of God, like you're not growing in the way that you could be.
Yeah.
So
that's true. Aiden, what's, I guess like going way back, to answer like the question I had asked Grant, what is like an area, I guess you're leading a ministry kind of right now, like a worship ministry in preteen right now. You're helping with tech stuff all around the church. You're doing stuff with UT, like jazz stuff right now. You're helping out in students constantly. Like what is, I don't know, it's been a big growing thing for you, like a big growing moment, something you've learned that's really like changed your perspective or like how you approach working with and trying to like help lead people under you, I guess, or around you.
Well, you think, just so you know, I have to go do my taxes here. Like I probably need to leave really soon. Just so you all know. I don't mean to cut this off.
No,
that's
cool.
A great conversation.
That's cool. I would say
adulting.
Taxes, LOL.
Adulting.
I'm dead.
Repeat the question really quickly for me, because there's a lot of angles I could take this from. Go ahead.
Oh gosh, Aiden. Hang on. We're gonna reframe this question.
We're gonna live reframe this question.
My apologies.
No, we're so good. Okay. Yeah. What is it? How have you grown in like pouring into the people around you, and like how you look at I don't know, what you're trying to be better at, and like pouring into those under you, around you, and like has that shifted, like your view on that and like your interaction with people and helping people, has that like shifted, and how so for you in the last, I guess, like year or whatever? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I want to bring up Seth again because because like the first thing that jumps into my mind when you talk about that is, I think a lot of times, specifically with him, because Seth's personality, like a lot of times we just naturally kind of clash on some things. And so
you don't say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know it's crazy. It's crazy. But just in some ways I would find myself getting advice from him, or him telling you something or telling us how he does something, and just getting closed off in a way. And maybe even if I knew that what he was saying might have been the better thing to do or the better way to be, I wouldn't want to do that. And sometimes it's been like really long conversation of him and I like back and forth, like going after each other. Yeah. And then eventually I'm like, oh yeah, dude, that was a great idea. So like, it's just kind of a in a lot of ways with like personally, developmentally, and like people, and obviously like we talk about having people that are better than you, but sometimes somebody comes around that intimidates you, or somebody comes around that you don't gel with immediately in some ways, and but you got to say, or maybe it's, I don't know what
you have to find a way to like work with them.
Yeah. Whatever selfish thing it is, like they're not that older than you and you want to be better than them, but you're not, or which I've been in a lot of areas of my life, but just saying like, hey, I'm going to be open to what you think I could do better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would say just being open to watching all that happen, and being open to the situations that you're a part of. Like I think to like building a team, and it's an interesting thing because with the preteen worship team, like I'm interfacing with preteen students who are on the team, and I'm interfacing with their parents, and I'm also interfacing with adults that are on the team. Right.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of an interesting thing where, like I'm a 19-year-old dude doing this, and there are like grown adults on this that I schedule and that I, give ideas to, that I am technically, in charge of loosely, whatever.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times it looks like being like, hey, what would you do? How would you do this? What would you do differently?
Yeah.
What can I do? How did I navigate that situation? What do you think? Just being open to constant critique,
even from people too that you are like don't necessarily agree with everything that they do. Just seeing like why they do what they do is a big thing. I'll answer the question real quick because I know Grant has to go do his taxes.
I do.
So I think to answer my own question, big thing that I've grown in is like, do you care more about the relationship or the product?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so easy. I so easily get into the product, and it's not even like I want people to become better, and I care about the people. It's not even that I don't care about the people. It's that I just get so caught up in like the end goal and the vision that I'm like, okay, I'm going for this. And then I don't always interact with the people around me in the best way, not because I don't like them or it comes out of like ill intent for them. It's just I get caught up, and it's like what I'm trying to go for and what I'm striving for, because I'm so passionate about that. And so reining that in, and it's like caring more about the people and the relationship around you, building the equity with the people around you to be able to say things to them that are tough. So that would also be another piece of advice. It's like find people around you who can say tough things to you.
Yeah.
Build equity with people, build relationships, be open. If somebody's like, hey, if your friend looks at you and is like, hey, you're being prideful about that, go think about it. Don't just get mad about it. Like you can get mad. You can have your feelings hurt. That's fine. Happens to me all the time. People say stuff to me. I get my feelings hurt. I don't appreciate it. And then I go sit there and I think about it. I'm like, oh, frick, they're right. Like I was being prideful about that. So I think that would be the big one for me. It's just like caring, like I want the people to succeed. And so it's like, you'll make sacrifice because of the relationship. And in that, then the culture itself, and I guess the getting better and achieving excellence will grow with that.
Yeah.
Because you're growing a relationship with people. So,
man, cool.
Heck yeah, boys.
I feel like this talk isn't over. So like maybe we can continue this, and maybe with another,
maybe with a guest or something. Yeah.
I definitely feel like there's more here.
There's a lot to be unpacked. But I feel like this is a good starting point.
Yeah, man.
Happy 1 year, guys.
Dude, it's been a heck of a ride.
Thanks for being here, you guys.
Yeah, for real.
Sorry, Seth. We're going to do a funny outro. Peace.
Deuces.
Bye.